Well, hello folks. Welcome to the orientation video for leading organizational change. I'm Richard Harvey. I'm going to be your instructor for this session. So the purpose of this video is just to kind of give you an overview of the course. Hopefully you'll get a sense of what it is that's going to be expected of you on a week-to-week basis. Please make sure that you read all the documentation, but hopefully this will sort of fill in some of the gaps, okay? So what you're looking at now is the home page of the Blackboard page. Here you'll find just some sort of general information. Among them will be my information. And so this is my email address here, my phone number. Okay. There's also more information about my background that you'll be able to find here under this link, instructor information. In terms of what's the best way to contact me, I generally prefer that you contact me via email. Even if you prefer to talk on the phone, what you might do is sort of contact me via email, provide me with a phone message by which then I could call you back. And the reason for that is that that phone number is to my office, and I'm not always in the office, but I can always receive email. Like I said, I'd be happy to call you back. Okay. So just to give you a little bit of information about myself, I've been teaching this topic, this course now for probably about 17 years. But I don't just teach it, I also practice it. So I'm also a practicing organizational development consultant. I've been doing that now for probably about 25 years. Do a wide variety of work. And so each week I provide you with a little bit of mini lecture that go with some of these topics. And oftentimes I'll talk about some of my practical experience in the field with some of this stuff. This area is way too big for any one person to be able to experience it all. So I definitely can't say that I've experienced all of this, but definitely over 25 years, I've had a pretty wide ranging experience with this topic. Okay. So a little bit more about the course. You'll be able to find access to a syllabus and calendar here. I have already sort of brought those up. So this is what the calendar looks like. Gives you a breakdown of the week, the topic for that week, the chapters that I'm asking you to read, as well as the assignments that you're going to be doing. And I'll come back and talk about those as well. My advice is that people always sort of print out this calendar and hang it someplace where you're going to see it quite a lot. If there are discrepancies, between, say, what's listed on the calendar versus what might be listed in the website, please know that generally the calendar is going to be the most correct perception, right? We copy these Blackboard sites over and over, and so oftentimes there might be residue from a previous course left in there, but the course calendar tends to be pretty fresh each and every time, okay? If there's a conflict, if in doubt, definitely go by the course calendar. So that's what that looks like. Also, the syllabus, you'll want to sort of get your hands on. The book that we're using is Organizational Development, The Process of Leading Organizational Change by Anderson. We are up to the 4th edition in this book. And like I said, I won't sort of read through the course description, but basically this course is about how to facilitate the process of organizational change in an organization, with a specific focus on one particular approach to bringing about organizational change, something called organizational development. And so the focus is much more around organizational development. There are other ways, for example, of doing organizational change that will be addressed in the first module. But this course focuses on organizational development, generally what I'll refer to as OD. And so the learning objectives for the course tend to feature around the idea of OD. So, for example, the first objective is that you be able to identify and reflect on the defining features of an OD approach, right? So what is it that makes this particular approach distinctive from other kinds of approaches? Another objective here is that you'll be able to identify and reflect on some of the main concepts and processes within each of the major steps to OD change. Okay, so OD is broken out into steps, and so can you identify what are some of the main issues that come to play there? And, the third objective really has to do with, okay, so you kind of can talk about this, but can you really begin to apply this? Can you begin to kind of engage in some of this work? And so the third objective is, more of an application objective. And then the final objective is, to what degree are you aware of diverse perspectives with regard to organizational change, or different strategies, different interventions, different tools that are out there? Okay, so those would be the objectives for the course, and I am sort of just thumbing right along. Let's get down to the good stuff. That is, so what is it that you're going to be expected to do? Okay, well, the main source of grading for this course is really in an online journal. Now, you really should be journaling every week. And the journals are really about reflecting on what you're learning from the lectures, from the reading that you're doing. On the Blackboard site, you'll see that there are some instructions. There's even a rubric that you'll be able to follow. Even though I highly advocate that you journal every week, you'll see the journals are actually only due twice, roughly about halfway through the course and then at the end of the course. What you will be doing on a weekly basis is engaging in discussions. And so throughout the book, at the end of each section is a case study, and those case studies typically begin with a list of questions that you'll be asked to kind of reflect on. And so you will initially post your responses to those questions in a thread in a discussion. And then you will be asked to comment, reflect on the initial post of your peers. It's important that you post your own ideas first before viewing those of peers, and so it's set up so that you have to post first. No peeking, folks, okay? You have to post first in order to reflect on other people. And then the third thing you'll be doing, and of course the second thing you'll be doing on a weekly basis, is you will be providing artifacts. Now, artifacts are kind of sort of a show and tell. One of the things that's important to really all consultants, but especially organizational development consultants, is something called the Consultant's Toolkit. It's really nothing more than a collection of tools and measures, illustrations, might be notes on organizational process information or organizational assessments or things about interventions. And so it's kind of your toolkit, right? If you were a consultant. And generally the way that one gets these various tools is, as you have experience in the field or you take different courses, you come across these things. Well, we're going to jettison this a little bit, right? Because I want you to have a lot of stuff real soon. So we're going to use each other. So each week you're going to be finding some artifact that is relevant to the topic that's being discussed in a given week, and you'll have to share it with others. And you'll see online there are some examples of the kind of things you can do. There's no rubric provided with this because really all I'm asking you to do is to share the artifact and then kind of do a quick little write-up in terms of what it is. What would be important is if you can't share the actual artifact itself, that you provide a citation that people can use to get hold of that particular artifact. Okay, so basically the three things: a journal that's going to be due twice throughout the semester, weekly discussions and then artifacts. And once again, both the journal and the weekly discussions have rubrics attached to them. The artifacts do not. Okay, so that's basically the weekly and work that's done in the course. Below, you'll see sort of how the points sort of stack up, how the grade is, and then of course there's the usual disclaimers that are associated with SLU. Okay, so let me put this syllabi away and let's come back to the Blackboard site. And so you'll find the instructions for the things that I just talked about up under this sort of tab, assignment instructions, inside of the journal info. You'll see what it is I'm asking you to do with respect to that. Okay, in terms of the points, the calendar has the due dates for these. It's also attached to the journals. Okay, let's go back here. Discussion. Okay, once again, these are essentially what the instructions, if you will, for the discussions themselves. And let's come back, and then up underneath the artifacts, just some discussions of what those are. Like I said, this is not a comprehensive list of artifacts, but definitely some examples of what one could provide. Okay, so make sure you take a look at that. Okay, so of course the main feature is going to be these weekly modules. Each week you'll be able to sort of click into a weekly module. So for example, the one for week 1 is provided here. Inside of these modules, you'll have access to, let's see. Let's see. We'll get this figured out. All of these should show up on a single page, so you have to click through all of that. But each week you will have an overview video, and this is just me giving you a sense of what it is that you're going to be covering for that week. You'll have a list of learning objectives for the week, and then an agenda. That will tell you what it is that you ought to be reading and what you'll be sort of turning in. The Learning Materials tab will have access to both the PowerPoint notes and the videos that are associated. Mind you, the videos are my mini lectures. And then under Activities is where you'll find the links to the assignments that you have for that week. So, for example, the links to the discussion board, case studies, the artifact blogs, and then there's always be a link to the journals. Now, for the most part, for your assignments, particularly the discussions and the journals, there'll always be alternative ways to sort of get to them. So, for example, over here, okay, is how you access that. Now, with respect to the case studies, because that's going to be primarily a student interaction forum, I've chosen, rather than to make comments which could unfortunately get caught nested within the discussion and people not miss them, what I'm going to do actually is provide my own reflections on each of the case studies, and I'm going to provide them under this link here where it says Instructor Case Study Notes. Under that link is where you'll be able to find my reflection that I'll post obviously after everyone else has posted their notes. So usually that subsequent week, I'll then post my reflection of the case study. In case you kind of wonder, and let me give you this disclaimer. If my notes are, slightly different from yours, it doesn't necessarily mean that, mine are more valid than yours. It's just a different perspective on that. Okay. So once again, rather than putting that within the actual discussion board, where people are likely to miss it, I'm simply going to locate those notes in an alternative place, and they'll be up under Instructor Case Study Notes. Okay. So this is the basic format each week of what the modules will look like. You have an overview video, with learning objectives and agenda. You'll then have the learning materials, which will consist of PowerPoint slides as well as a YouTube mini lecture video. And then you'll have under activities links to the assignments that you'll be doing for that week. And that's basically the rhythm of the course. From time to time, you might get emails from me that might give you an update with regard to something. Feel free to always reach out and talk with me if you'd like to talk a little bit more